Now, I wanted to put a quick video together, I guess shattering one of the most common myths out there in the personal development in the trading industry. And this is the whole idea of positive thinking. And I think, to be honest, it's quite a big trap that a lot of people get caught into. And the current model right now is that you have to be positive, you have to be up, you have to be, supportive, you have to be all the positive things all the time. And to any human being, that's completely unrealistic. And what I would love to say is that positive thinking is only half the equation. Sometimes, yes, if you're down, you're resentful in a state of shame, then positive thinking is essential to get yourself back to a state of equilibrium. But if you're already in a manic pride state, then positive thinking isn't going to be useful there. You're going to have to use the opposite set of questions or negative thinking in that situation to make yourself aware of the full picture. Now, I've mentioned in previous episodes that I'm working with a client now who's going off and taking a significant amount of money on. And in that type of situation, you don't just want to be positive thinking. You don't want to be, blasé and happy and supportive and positive all the time, because there are true risks there that you need to identify and make yourself aware of. Just like any trader, there are risks out there that are there. And if you're using positive thinking, you're blinded to those risks, to those drawbacks, those disservices. In my opinion, that's quite foolish. It's much wiser to go in there and make yourself aware with foresight of the things that could go wrong and put contingencies in place to deal with them. Now, I would love to share a little bit of an analogy with you that I heard from a mentor of mine that I think is extremely useful in demonstrating why positive thinking is only half the equation. Let's imagine you, thousands of years ago, saw an animal in the wild. An animal has a prey and they have a predator. But let's imagine in this situation that the animal we're talking about only has prey. They only have positive, they only have support, they only have things they can consume and eat. If that animal only had the positive, only had the prey, only had the support that they could eat, and no predator to run away from or defend themselves from, then they would constantly consume and eat and become very gluttonous and fat. And they would eventually lose their fitness, and they would eventually be a high calorie target for easy effort. And ultimately, all the predators target the highest, fattest calorie thing per bite for the easiest effort. So that animal who only had prey, only had support, only had things they could eat and consume, and is extremely gluttonous and fat now, is going to be targeted. And eventually it's going to lead to their death. And in reverse, if that animal didn't have any prey, but they only had predator, then they would become extremely emaciated, very skinny, and they would eventually die out as well. So if we are in either polarities, extreme positive or extreme negative, then we eventually lead to, losing our fitness and dying out eventually. But let's imagine that animal had an equal amount of prey and predator. They had an equal amount of predator they could run away from and defend themselves from, but they also had prey they could consume and eat. In that state, when they had equal amount of prey and predator, they would have enough food to consume and also enough challenge to defend themselves from. They would grow maximally in that state. So maximum growth and evolution happens on the border of predator and prey, on the border of positive and negative, on the border of support and challenge. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that in either polarity, positive or negative, we burn ourselves out and we eventually die. The positive leads to dependency and the negative leads to being burnt out. So as a trader in the markets, we don't want the positive, because if we became extremely positive and would become complacent and become gluttonous, would become fat, and would eventually get humbled by the market. And in reverse with the negative, we don't want that either. So what I think it's much wiser to have as a default state as a trader, as a level of awareness, is that you're always going to get both. You're going to have advantages, and you're also going to have disadvantages. You're going to have positive, you're going to have negative. You're going to have support, you're going to have challenge. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose. Sometimes you're going to make good, correct decisions. Sometimes you're going to make bad, incorrect decisions. But they're both essential for your maximum growth. Because if you only made the positive side of that and you're infatuated instead of pride, you become complacent and lazy and gluttonous and fat. So you need the negative, you need the loss, you need the poor decisions to keep you sharp and to keep you growing maximally. So what I love to promote and share with my clients and my guys who go through my course is that both are there always. It's just a matter of perception and awareness, and both are essential. You don't need to get rid of any part of yourself to love and appreciate yourself. because both sides of the coin are essential for your maximum growth. And you certainly don't need to get any part of your trading to be a great trader as well. Both sides, the positive, the negative, the support, the challenge, the win, the lose, the good decisions, bad decisions, both are essential to help you grow maximally as a trader. Because whenever we make those poor decisions, we get back to priority. We start taking high priority setups and we start focusing and have that drive and motivation to improve. Both are essential.